If we were to take a top-down view of football as it stands now, what are Liverpool looking at, and why are they making the decisions that they're making?
Well, I can put it very simply. They're looking at a loss of anywhere between 70 million and quite possibly 200 million in the next year. So over the current financial year, that's the sort of loss that they're going to be facing, as will all the top clubs. I'll sort of break it down. I'm glad you asked me this question because, God, I've had some stick, and I've seen so much on Twitter from Liverpool fans saying the get rid of the board, get rid of SFG. They've got no ambition. They're not putting any money in. And the reality is that all clubs are going to be, with one or two exceptions, and I'll explain, because people immediately say, well, why Chelsea? And I'll explain that later. But all clubs are facing a huge loss because of this coronavirus crisis.
Can I just query something? When you say loss, David, do you mean a loss of revenue or an actual loss?
Well, a loss of revenue will equal a big loss for nearly all clubs. If you look at the Premier League finances, even Liverpool, who recorded a sort of a record profit, if you like, that was only on the balance sheet at the end after accounting was about 20 million, something like that. So basically break even. Nearly all Premier League clubs only break even. Manchester United have massive interest payments, so they only break even though they've got massive turnover. City managed to break even despite having a higher wage bill than their actual gross turnover, which is pretty remarkable.
It's crazy, that.
But when I say losses, there will be losses because they've already budgeted for this season's income. But of course, this season's income is now hit. They've had to give TV money back, quite a significant amount. And the bigger clubs are hit more because they were going to get a larger share. So they've had to pay quite a bit more back, in essence. Also, obviously, gate receipts, but match day income, which for Liverpool, with their sort of fairly extensive like hospitality boxes, etc., that runs into millions of pounds per match. So even if the fans come back in September when the new season starts, they will have run into losses running into the 50, 60, 70 million on this season's outlay, which they've already budgeted for. So any profit they made last season is turned into a significant loss.
I must admit, like I'm looking at it and I'm trying to see how each club is individually sort of thinking on this, David. So I'm looking at Liverpool, and I think you've explained that really well. And then looking at the likes of Chelsea, Manchester United, Spurs, Arsenal, Manchester City, and I'm just wondering whether, Abramovich is looking at this, let's say from a Chelsea perspective, and maybe we move on to Werner now, and he's going, right, okay, we're not going to win the league next season, but can I take advantage of this situation, having not spent for 2 seasons because of transfer bans and everything else? Can I take advantage and close that gap to Liverpool now? And is it good money to roll the dice at this point and overspend and know that I'm overspending? Whereas I'm looking at Liverpool, who are probably of the opinion that it's not good money to overspend now. We've got a good squad. Everybody signs up. We're the best team in the league by a country mile. And is that what we're seeing play out here? Are teams going to try and steal a march on the competitors that are close to them?
No, I don't think that will be the case generally. I mean, possibly if clubs are being bankrolled by super rich owners and they can get around the FFP. Chelsea's a unique position, and they're taking advantage of their unique position, which actually comes from bad management. And first of all, they had a transfer ban, so they couldn't sign anyone. Also, they have actually realised that they were hemorrhaging money. Abramovich has not been putting money in the last few years, and they've actually been trying to cut their budgets. They're trying to break even. And they largely have done that by not spending. They got in the Hazard money from the sale last summer. They couldn't spend anyway, but the reality was they were needing that money to sort of balance the budget. However, they did one deal last summer, which was a bad deal at the time, but it actually has worked out really well for them. They sold the Real Madrid striker, his name has just escaped me, but to Atletico Madrid.
Real Madrid, what?
Yeah. The guy who was at Real Madrid, and went to Chelsea, and now
Morata, that was it. Yeah,
his name just escaped me. Anyway, Morata, they sold last summer for £58 million, but the deal was signed, but the 58 million was due this summer after a year-long loan period. So when he was he was playing for Atletico Madrid. He was actually on loan still, but they are tied in to paying that money, and obviously they had budgeted at the time for it. So Chelsea, by a fluke, have got £58 million to spend because that money is coming. Obviously, that money will be structured. It won't just come in one lump sum, but they will be paying, no doubt, Werner's release fee in over a structured deal. Plus, they have got at least two really big money players out of contract this summer, Pedro and Willian, and they won't renew either of those now. And I'd say that both of those would be on close to the money that they're paying, that they will be paying Werner, however you pronounce it. And so they're actually still going to save wages. They maybe get rid of other players now as well. So they'll save wages, cut budgets that way, and they'll be able to sign players as well. Werner being the example. And the other side of what you said is absolutely true. They've seen an opportunity where in a normal market, they'd have no chance of getting him. But nobody else, you can see, nobody else has come in for him. You hear Juventus were interested, Inter Milan. There was even a suggestion at a time that Barcelona were interested, Manchester United interested, Liverpool obviously linked. Nobody came in. They've had all this time to say, yeah, we'll meet that contract clause. Nobody did. And Chelsea have looked at it and gone, this is our opportunity. We have this money, whereas nobody else is prepared to pay that now. And that's a really good sign. He's a top-class player. The release cost was considered low, but now everybody's saying too high. And it's right, because the market's contracting. But Chelsea are in a position. It's a unique position because they did some terrible things, i.e. themselves transfer. And they've got loads of players coming out of contract, big money players, that they need replacing. But now they're in a position to get a player that they otherwise normally wouldn't get. If the price came down, Liverpool would be in, Manchester United, other clubs would be in for him, and Chelsea wouldn't stand a chance. So they've gone, all right, we'll just have to pay that price. So that's the situation.
And what about where does it leave the likes of Manchester United, Arsenal, Manchester City? We know Manchester City obviously are still waiting to find out, or we're still waiting to find out whether they're going to get a Champions League ban. That could affect their business that they're able to do, even if they wanted to sign players, I suppose, top class players. And you got the likes of Arsenal and Spurs we've talked about. Manchester United are at maybe another unique position, David. I don't know whether you'd agree on this, in that they can just keep taking loans because they're Manchester United and people will keep giving them money. Are they going to try and capitalise on this situation, or do you think, after paying $1.5 billion to the Glazers since they've took over the football club, that they actually might tighten the belt a bit?
I suspect United are quite cautious in the transfer market in the last couple of years. They've not come out. I mean, they made some terrible mistakes, and their chief exec Woodward has realised that, and he's looking at models closer to Liverpool's and Manchester City's, actually, to be fair, which is finding younger players who have a high resale value but also have a bigger capacity to improve, so that you actually make them worth more. And then you maybe, under normal circumstances, sell them on to those clubs who are not so wise. When they get to like 28, 29, 30, you start selling the players. And I think that would always be Liverpool's plan.